Iniciamos agora o ciclo.
We now start the technical lectures cycle for our event. We invite to the floor architect from the Rio Heritage of Humanity Institute, Dr. Helder Magalhães Viana. He's manager for archaeology and he's responsible for the Open Laboratory of Urban Archaeology. Helder is one of the coordinators of the project Vitrais of Candelária Church. With master's degree from UFRJ, he's been working in the preservation of cultural heritage, architectural restoration, and research on stained glass. He's taken part in domestic and international initiatives in the area. Dr. Elder will speak on Candelária Church stained glass restoration of heritage at risk. A round of applause.
Ação técnica para que através do passador.
We're just waiting for the technical elements and we'll shortly start.
Bom, enquanto o passador não chega,
I would like to thank you all for being here in this event that is so dear to us, to IRPH, in these 40 years. We're celebrating many different things. The 40th anniversary of IRPH, 40th anniversary of Windsor Network, also the 40th anniversary of Gerda Henkel Institute. We didn't have a representative here, but okay, we're celebrating also the 130th anniversary. We need the gadget to operate the presentation. Can you forward the slides from the back there? Okay, so this second image, it's just like the first one, but it's important, as I was saying. We have our partners here. Without them, nothing would even be possible. So first of all, if you could go back one slide. Okay, I have the clicker now. Let me see how it works. They always operate differently. Okay. So I will try to be a bit brief, having time concerns in mind. I would like to thank the Candelária, the Brotherhood of the Blessed Sacrament of Candelária, the partnership with the Rio Heritage of Humanity Institute. I thank also the German Consulate General in Rio de Janeiro, who were the first partners for us to be able to take the first steps. Without the Consulate General of Germany, we wouldn't be able to move on. They introduced the Gerda Henkel Foundation to us, and with the project of restoration of Candelária Church stained glass, together with other parallel projects, they were well encompassed in this year that is also a special year for Gerda Henkel Foundation as well. I thank our partners, Windsor Network, Essential, at time, decisive point for us to choose the location, the venue for the seminar. And I congratulate the Windsor Network, the partnership with the National Heritage Institute, a fund, UniRio, and other partners, which contributed for the event as well. The Candelária Church is to Rio de Janeiro what St. Peter is to the city of Rome. Who said this was Germain Bazin in 1956, a French art historian. This is what we can see on an everyday basis. In the last few days, I've been bringing colleagues from the airport to the city center, and the first thing we see when we enter President Vargas Avenue is this image on the screen. The Candelária Church as a landmark in our city. This is the facade, how imponent it is. The cornerstone has already celebrated the 251st anniversary, and it's very important for our city. And we can see the three windows with the three stained glasses. They're here present in the center of the picture. The clicker is not working? Okay. The stained glasses from Candelária Church, they're part of a larger set of art thought of and executed by João Zeferino da Costa from the 1870s onward. This set starts being painted then, and it covers the whole of the inside of the church with many paintings depicting not only religious aspects but also the foundation of the church itself. At the nave we find this story starting with a couple of Spanish people leaving, going through a storm while crossing the Atlantic, and when they arrive here, they fulfill their commitment, and they found a small chapel, and this brotherhood is originated and it grows throughout the years. 251 years ago, the cornerstone was laid for a new temple that today we can see its grandiosity. It was inaugurated in 1898. The stained glass are part of the decoration project of the Candelária Church, started in 1879. João Zeferino da Costa, Rio de Janeiro painter, was responsible for the project. He was professor of the Imperial Academy of the Fine Arts. 1882 was when Antonio de Paula Freitas, the engineer, was recommending the beginning of some of the stages, among them the glass painted by fire on the three choir windows. That's the first mention recorded for this project. Zeferino imagined creating these three stained glass panels as a broader composition. They would be located on the wall of the choir, and he would take advantage of the different dimensions of the windows. The central window is larger and the side windows are smaller. Thus, he pictures a drawing in perspective to give an idea that the larger stained glass would be placed more to the front, and the side stained glasses would be more to the back, giving some illusion of perspective. So this is a picture from the 1920s depicting the wall painting called The Invocation of Saint Cecilia, where the three stained glasses act as doors to a temple of an architecture, and Our Lady of Candelária at the center, and the two announcing angels. This is a current picture, and we can see the beauty of colors and integration with stained glasses. And we can also see stained glass from Zettler house in Germany. And this is a close-up of the invocation of Saint Cecilia. And we see the saint and a musical instrument in her hands, and the imperial family, Don Pedro II, Teresa Cristina, and Princess Isabel, as part of the scene. We can see here the choir stained glass, and their traditional stained glasses, glass and lead. Singular, amazing, and unique beauty. It was idealized, as mentioned before, by a Brazilian artist, and they were made in Germany. So the first meeting between Zeferino da Costa and the executor, Franz Xaver Zettler, takes place in 1895, and from then onwards they conduct studies, and finally stained glass are produced in 1898, and they're installed in the following year. Here we can see the signature of the Royal Establishment of Baviera, and it's written in Castilian from Zettler, Munich. And here is a rare scene of Zettler's workshop, founded in 1871. And in 1939, it merges with the Meyer workshop, and which is still operating today. We have a representative from Meyer workshop in Munich today, Mr. Walter Uptmore. Zeferino da Costa is participating, but also he has a collaboration, for instance, of Henrique Bernadelli, who conducts the painting from two people he knew, the mother and a son, and that image is later on transferred, and the cartoons or templates are designed by Zeferino da Costa. This artistic set, as Laura mentioned, the stained glasses, they may last for 1,000 years, but they're extremely fragile by their own nature. So here, unfortunately, in the city center of Rio de Janeiro, we have seen recurrent acts of vandalism. At the time, we were invited to try to solve this problem. We've seen this for the last 30 years, 2 or 3 times. We've seen acts of vandalism performed. We took, me, Marisa Assunção, and Georgie Astorga, we idealized this project. We took up that challenge, and we took up that challenge.
And we have established a mode of working, not only in restoration, but also in training professionals from Brazil. We started these endeavors back in 2019. The same team was involved in the restoration project of stained glass windows in the Municipal Theater of Rio de Janeiro, again collaborating with experts from Germany, and because also in the Teatro Municipal, the stained glass was made originally in Germany. This is a cultural heritage, therefore, not only to Brazil, but also to Germany. And so we invited the German partners to embark on this journey, and the German consulate was on board from the very first day. And they were strong partners from the beginning. And less than 1 month later, the German consulate introduced us to the Gerda Henkel Foundation, and that jump-started all this endeavor. And so in 2019, we created the first project for restoration of stained glass in collaboration with Germany. And we had this problem to solve, to restore pieces of art of the cultural heritage. And we faced this challenge not as a difficulty, but rather as an opportunity to increase knowledge, to expand knowledge. And that was the rationale behind the project. Therefore, we established partnerships with different institutions that are paramount to achieving the desired results. And these include both national, Brazilian institutions, as well organizations from abroad. For instance, Professor Sebastian Strobel was a partner for that endeavor at the time, and he's also taking part in the seminar tomorrow with a lecture. Here's some images from the launch of the program. This is a whole program for the protection of heritage art and cooperation for the stained glass of Rio. This was approved by the federal government and the National Heritage Institute, and the Gerda Henkel Foundation provided the sponsorship and funds required. The general aim and objective of the project is to recover, value, and promote the 3 artistic stained glass panels located in the choir of the Our Lady of Candelária Church through international cooperation. The specific aims are to design and approve the technical project of conservation and restoration. We are now already 90% of the stained glass already restored in the workshop. In the following month, in the coming month, we'll be restoring the window frames that will then allow us to install the stained glass back in the church. Another specific objective was promoting a training course for professionals from across different institutions of heritage and also stained glass professionals, and that allows us to promote this exchange of knowledge amongst all these professionals, not only the experts and who are offering the training. This was very much the spirit of the training workshop. It's not about teaching, but rather about learning from each other. The trainer was not there to teach the restorer on how to perform a restoration, or the glass specialist on how to produce stained glass. It was more about exchanging knowledge. So it was a mutual exchange of knowledge between stained glass expertise and restoration expertise. And I guess this class of 45 professionals taking part in the training really benefited from this exchange of knowledge. It was a very enriching activity. And besides the training, we also promoted internal and external lectures on the topic of restoration and stained glass. And we had 3 main stages within the project: identification and knowledge, diagnosis, and then the intervention. So firstly, the identification, the mapping of the stained glass windows and panels, an assessment of the architectural elements, all the fragments that were collected and preserved by the Brotherhood at the time of the damage of the stained glass windows. These were all conserved in the archives in the collection of the Brotherhood. We also recovered the original designs, the templates or cartoons designed by the Zeferino da Costa. And I want to congratulate the Brotherhood on how precise and how careful their work of preservation was. They preserved what we call the cartoons, which are the basic designs for the stained glass before they are produced. And these were preserved in the collection of the Brotherhood. I think these actually produced in Rome The workshop of Zeferino da Costa was located in Rome at the time. So these designs were then sent to Munich for the production of the glass, and then returned to Brazil alongside the finished work for the sake of memory, of preservation. And 1902, here's a quotation from Zeferino da Costa. All the designs and studies were sent to the manufacturer, Franz Xaver Zettler in Munich, in Germany, for the execution of the stained glass windows, where they were used and then sent to Brazil with the finished products. And I believe they must be kept in the church for the future, so in the event of any damage or disaster, the restoration work can be based on the original designs. So in the picture you can see myself stenciling the original cartoons in that precise segment where we had gaps caused by the acts of vandalism. The feet of Jesus Child was one of the most damaged pieces, segments of the stained glass window, and we had the opportunity to use the original designs to try and restructure, to base the restoration work on the original design. So we'll have on the image the initial study by Henrique Bernardelli on the left, then the cartoon from the original design by Zeferino da Costa, a picture taken by the manufacturer Franz Zettler in Munich in 1898, and then the current state before the restoration took place of the glass window. Just to give you an idea of the state of conservation of the window, they were severely damaged and fragile at the time when we began the project of restoration. So the initial assessment was performed. We tried to recover as many fragments of the original window as possible. Especially here you'll see the fragments recovered for the feet of baby Jesus. And we also used some previous records of the stained glass windows. So this particular damage was caused in 2015, and I had visited the church 2 months prior to the attacks. I had the opportunity to photograph the panels, the windows, and these pictures also were instrumental in the diagnosis and restoration work. Here we see some previously replaced glass in the window that were not appropriate. Also some pieces that were too dark or too transparent. Here also some decayed grisaille work. So the grisaille was severely decayed, and we could use, we assessed all this, we mapped all this decay. You can see the eyes of Our Lady and of the Jesus Child also very much degraded by time. So we also had some yellowing of the adhesive because of UV exposure on the left side panel. So here are the diagnoses, the factors of degradation that were identified. So we thought, in view of all the different factors of degradation and of the damages that were mapped, we then designed 2 strategies of restoration and conservation, a preventive strategy as well as restorative or curative strategy. In this initial stage, we mapped all the damages, and we can see this This initial damage was done in situ and then improved at the bench, refined when in the workshop. Here's the proposal for intervention. So how can you solve this problem of continuous acts of vandalism damaging the pieces, and how you can then also rebuild the frames and prevent the oxidation of the painting of the grisaille in the window frames. So we thought of a protective glazing that will be applied on top of the original window. So with a few centimeters of gap between the two windows, and we also will leave an opening at the top and one opening at the bottom, allowing for the ventilation and preventing oxidation and humidity to accumulating between the two windows. And we also will install a protective mesh outside the window, and will prevent not only acts of vandalism but also the birds that continuously defecate on top of the windows, and that will prevent that damage as well. We see Daniela from the Jequitibá Atelier. We have Jequitibá Restaurações, Luigi e Gonçalves, also restoration company but that works specifically with stained glass. We have Jorge Astorga Arquitetura that worked in all the assessment and diagnosis stage, and then that will support the whole endeavor. Let me move forward for the sake of time. This is a summary of our proposal of intervention. We have a spreadsheet with all the degradation factors, the interventions for the preservation and restoration, and also the preventive measures. We can show a few of the results as well already. So I have showed you already these previous pieces of restoration that were not appropriately performed, and this is now the new restoration that we have achieved. Sorry, I can't advance the slides anymore. What happened? Just bear with me. Thank you. So the square piece of glass, this was a whole piece of glass, and that was previously replaced on this square segment and the triangular one on the side. So we actually preserved the same transparency in the stars that we saw in the original pieces. According to our consultants, the specialists, it is very likely that the stars were darkened in order to reduce the amount of light that comes into the church, and therefore we see a lot of pigmentation applied to the glass on the stars, and we try to replicate that. This is another segment of the window that was hit by a stone, and we have restored, recomposed that segment by Luigi and Gonçalves. We will apply some lead to the crack and try and preserve as much as possible of the original glass. And likewise here on the shoulder of Our Lady we had a gap, so we had to reintegrate the glass with new glass, and it was glued in some parts but also leaded in other segments as well. When you look up close, you can tell these are different pieces of glass from different manufacturers, but in the whole, as an ensemble, it works really, really well. Here, the interventions in the eyes of Our Lady and Jesus Christ. We cannot fire these pieces of glass again, therefore we had to cold paint the eyes to restore them. Here are the details for Jesus and Our Lady. And these were not performed in the whole window. We only chose the most degraded parts, which were the eyes of Our Lady and Jesus Christ child. So we chose these particular parts to be restored and repainted. Another gap from a stone throw. So we see the intervention after the restoration. And here's the final result of the intervention. Of course, we try to be as close to be as similar to the original piece of glass, but it's also, we need to also bear in mind that the recomposition, the restoration is never going to be exactly equivalent to the original, though we can always see the differences between the original glass and the new glass. Here are another result from the angel on the right, Luisa Gonçalves from the Luisa Gonçalves Atelier, working on the piece. Here we see the cleaning process. We use the scalpel as well as air blower, applying heat to the piece. And the project encompasses not only the restoration work, but also the training of professionals, as mentioned before. And the class was the class benefited 45 professionals from different organizations. Here are some pictures from the workshop activities. We demonstrated how the cleaning is performed during restoration and preservation work, the visit to the site of the Our Lady of Candelária, also to the Palace of Laranjeiras. And the theme of the next lecture is precisely that, but we also held some educational activities with schools. Professor Valeria will tell you all about it. Marcia Valeria will tell you all about it, and this is a very important part of the project as well. And finally, the seminar. Today we are starting the international seminar, and this is the culmination of the project. And it will be a pleasure to be here with you today, presenting you the results and all the processes involved during the whole project. We also have 2 other activities that are included in the project. One of them is the exhibit. The other one is a publication, a book that will be published about the project, and we'll be concluding both these additional activities this year. And I want to thank you all. Thank you all the collaborators, the partners, the professionals involved in the project. My sincere and heartfelt thanks. Thank you, Elder, for your presentation. Elder Magalhães Viana, architect leading the project. We'll now open for Q&A, so questions from the audience. If you have any questions, we have 10 minutes for Q&A. If you have any questions, please raise your hands and we'll bring you a microphone for you to ask your question. So we have a question here at the front already, some hands raised. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Regina Lara. Thank you for your presentation, Elder. It was very interesting to hear you. I believe my question may pertain to the topic of upcoming lectures, but I would like to know that if you have, you mentioned the plaqué glass. No, I didn't even say plaqué. It was a different type of glass. I thought, yes, I wanted to know if you had mentioned plaqué glass, because this was restricted to the stars. So I just wanted to know if there was plaqué glass in other parts of the window. No, I didn't mention plaqué glass at all. I think you misheard me. Any other questions from the audience? I just wanted to mention that this is not a plaqué. It's a white glass painted with yellow pigments. Luisa, during the restoration work, she made use of a very similar piece of glass and applied silver yellow to the glass. And this is a technique that was very close to the original technique, and we were very happy with the results. If I may add, I just want to mention something about the state of preservation and conservation of the stained glass. We ran some lab tests, a metallographic analysis of the structure, the metal structure of the metal frames. The original architectural records stated the frames were made in copper. However, the lab results showed they were made of tin rather than copper. And because of the sea breezes and of the bird feces, the degradation was very present in the glass, and we also had the degradation of the stone found in the church. This was most of the dirt that was found on top of these glass, and this is silicon limestones that are found in the architectural features of the church, and its degradation can be found on the dirt deposited on the windows. Any other questions?
Doutor pela fala.
O nosso tempo.
Thank you. We will now close this segment of this panel of the seminar.